Sure. Science Leadership Academy was founded in 2006. We opened in September 2006 with a 9th grade, 125 kids. Our first graduating class was in 2010, and we've been a fully inquiry-driven and project-based school since our founding. What we wanted to do was build a school where the things we were asking kids to do, the challenges we were giving to children, the opportunities that kids had were around doing real, authentic work that mattered, work that they could see an immediate connection to their lives, and that that question that kids ask, why do I need to know this, that they deserved a good answer, and that the answer was rooted in the work that they do, where the artifacts of their learning, their projects, stem from the really powerful questions that we ask together as a community and really serve as real live answers to questions that they are grappling with.
You guys told me that this rod had to hold 2 P's worth of load. Yeah? All right. How much does this nut hold?
1 P.
1 P. How much does that nut hold?
1 P.
1 P. Okay. The engineer designed it so that each nut was strong enough to hold 1 P with a 50% margin of error or something if you have 1,000 people on the thing jumping up and down like a pogo stick. This rod is going to hold how many P's?
2.
2 P.
The left one holds the lower level.
The left one holds the lower level.
All the weight is going on top of
all
that
the weight
bar.
ends up going right here.
In the end, did the nut just like screw off, or
No.
did it just snap off?
It just snapped. Yeah. Because this mating, it wasn't meant for this. So I don't know if it failed. Does it show? It looks like this box beam. Actually, there's a split box beam, so there's a crack there. Maybe it went right through there because it wasn't meant to have 2P. Toby?
How much weight does the nut on the very bottom of the whole structure hold?
All the way here?
Yeah.
Well, we've got on the bottom box beam, you have 1 nut here, and we convinced ourselves that that only had to hold 1 P.
Okay. Why is that?
Because this lifts up this walkway perfectly fine. This nut has to hold up the bottom walkway.
That's because each nut holds up each walkway? Okay.
Well, so today we were looking at, since this is an engineering class, we're looking at why things fail. Because we can learn a great deal about engineering by looking at why things have failed in the past and why engineers have had difficulty designing and carrying those things out. So we were looking at a series of failures that have occurred in history. My father and my mother, they had a bed, and they slept in it, and my mother was always cold. My father was always hot. So my father had this great idea. My father's cheap, so it wouldn't turn on. We'll get an electric blanket with 2 sides. We're going to look at the reasons behind this. It was a cold day, and the temperature had just changed. Let's talk about the different types of materials. Brainstorm at your table. Material properties. Who can just name one to get us started? A material property. Yeah, Nabil.
Flexibility.
Flexibility. So I'm looking for that. That kind of material property. In your notebooks, work with your team, come up with as many different types of material properties as your table can name. Ready, set, go. Work with your friends if you can't come up with a half a dozen. If you come up with 10, please. That's good. Jan, what do you have? Thermal conductivity is one type. While you're finishing up, let's do this. I'm just going to start writing them down on the board. You guys will just shout them out, just so we can get them written down. Ready, set, go.
Thermal conductivity.
Wow.
Electrical conductivity.
Thermal conductivity, or how well it conducts heat, right? So, tell me something that's really thermally conductive.
Gold.
Gold, yeah. We don't make gold pots, but it is very thermally conductive. What do we make pots out of? Metal, what kind? Steel sometimes, yep.
Iron.
Iron, copper, right? All those things are very thermally conductive. All right, this is a coat hanger. What's it made out of?
That's an anvil. Close.
Yeah, it's made out of steel. Okay, so watch. If I take this thing, I can bang on it, right? It's steel. It's really tough. Yes, Gabby.
Aren't suspension bridges like made to shake though?
They are. This suspension bridges and all bridges are meant to be flexible to some extent, but nowadays they're made. Now that we've seen this disaster, we just didn't know it before. Now they're made so that when this starts up, the structural members stop it instantly. This is one of a series of lessons that we're doing that is leading up to a large project that they will start in 2 weeks. And that project will be the Rube Goldberg Challenge, where we're going to build a 20-foot-long machine. Each table is responsible for a piece, and it all has to work together. And all of the lessons that they've learned will build up to that project. It's very easy for students to sit in a class that's not project-based and listen to a lesson and even be able to answer tests and feel like they've learned something. But what all the research shows is that when that happens, they quickly forget their lesson. And by doing project-based, they're actually hands-on and they're experiencing the learning that they're doing. And by experiencing it, the learning will last longer.
This project, they have about six days, six class periods, because we only meet 4 days a week in each class. So there's about 6 class periods, but they do a lot of it at home. They don't do it in class. They do some of it in class, but they are. I mean, they're right now they're brainstorming, outlining, sketching.
Like the beast is actually, this was it, the pighead, right? Pighead on the stick is actually communicating with him.
Yeah, totally. That's what it is.
No, some people might know. Hey, some people think it might. It's okay to think it got a little sci-fi last night. You got a little sci-fi. How many of you think it got a little sci-fi? All right then. I'll rock with you. All right. Explain to us how it got a little sci-fi.
Well, I feel like he wasn't necessarily scared, or he wasn't crazy, but he was more scared, and that kind of like messed with his like psychology. And he was like, okay, we gotta go up the mountain, because I feel like he was nervous that the beast was gonna come down.
Honestly, I think it's just a health issue. I think maybe he wasn't getting enough to eat, or maybe he's like dehydrated. I think maybe he was just hallucinating, because Jack was saying, like later on, he was like, come over to our camp because we have a lot of like fresh food, and we have this whole pig body, and like all the little kids were like, ooh, that sounds really good, as if like they haven't eaten in a long time. So I think Simon was just hallucinating.
I think that Simon in general is just like a little bit unstable, and I think that he probably was unstable before the island as well, because he sort of thinks like on a different level than some of the other boys. In like numerous places in the book, he just acts a little bit different than you would think like the average 11 or 10-year-old would.
And Simon tends to he thinks more about the outside of the box, and maybe this will happen, maybe this will happen, maybe this will happen, and it kind of drives him nuts. Well,
The way that he was raised, he was already in isolation, which made him already like think more philosophically and more about the future.
I'm gonna have to, you said the word I was waiting on. Give me some love. Right here. Here. Sorry for the language.
For English, we're doing a storybook, and we all have to create a story structure about, it has to be for children ages 5 to 10, I believe. So, I mean, it's just, you're writing the book and you're gonna give it to the teacher, and Mr. K, my English teacher, is going to bring in kids so that they can review our books.
I liked I think it was last year, I got to do a project where the teacher, we read Macbeth, so she gave us like free range. She's like, all right, show me something from Macbeth that you like to do. So I wrote about Lady Macbeth and her personal plans for her husband, Lord Macbeth, and I wrote it in diary entries that she would have written, and I took a lot of time in it, and I like soaked the paper in coffee and made it look really, really old because the book like takes place in like 1400s England. So I spent a lot of time working on that project, and in terms of that, I really was proud of it. And I think that's another benefit of project-based learning is that you become really proud of your work because it's something that you're interested in that you get to pick.
It's crazy.
I suggested that because he was trying to see if we read or not, instead of doing it with a point system, like out of 10, it was a pass or fail. And so if you get enough of the questions right and show that you understand the text and have read it, then you can get a passing grade. And if you just show that you are completely guessing and don't really understand or haven't read it all, then you fail.
I feel like that would still favor people with photographic memories because it sounds like it'd still be the same questions. So I personally have trouble remembering details. So the quizzes are either a big problem or not a big problem for me, depending on the quiz. So I feel like a great way to see if someone would read the text is just give them 5 minutes to write down everything they remember.
Well,
No thoughts? Again, no bad ideas. We're kicking it around. None of you are professional teachers, but you're smart people. I want to hear what your ideas are. I want to see what you have. Yeah, go ahead.
Me?
I think like the pass or fail thing is kind of like really harsh because like you can get like an 80 and that's still like passing, but you don't completely understand it. And kind of like a suggestion that I have is like what we kind of did last year with the Odyssey, where like we had to take notes on the book and then our notes would be checked to make sure that you read. But like this time we actually like read through the notes and have to like show our notes and have people flip through them so they actually make sense. Like some minutes right about like I don't know, 5 minutes or something.
No right or wrong opinions here. Yeah.
I think that maybe for you as a teacher, the like pass-fail thing would be good because just since you like, maybe not for the SATs, but just since you like, when a teacher first of all on can read something, you can tell, okay, the kid read this or kid didn't read this, so it would be easy just to go like pass or fail, like it would actually up to you. Or maybe just having kids write down like 5 questions relating to the book instead of 5 answers.
Oh, wow. Why? Yeah, why on that one? That's interesting.
Because even if people have like a photographic memory, it has to like incorporate different aspects from the chapter they read so that you can kind of see like their overall picture of things.
Luis Manuel.
I'm like seeing everything now, so like yeah, yeah.
You have reached enlightenment. Have you walked out of the cave?
Exactly. So like the pass or fail thing sounded good at first, but then I thought about it again, and it was like I think that who said Jess that it was kind of harsh, and
It's interesting that you would go harsh on that. What do you guys think is the value in remembering the things?
Yeah, I think that's where. Let me actually color Zach's question with what I think the value is, and then you tell me if it holds water or not. My reason for doing it is that one is a reading check, and as you can tell, you're starting to get to the complexity of doing a reading check. Second, though, is to reward kids. Not as much about punishment, because I figured kids who aren't read don't do well in the class anyway. Like that's not I don't need to punish kids who don't read. They also write bad papers, and they also write, like there's other things. I don't have to worry about that. It's rewarding kids who are taking the extra initiative. There's reading the text, and then there's taking your time, sitting down, trying to pull out and discern what is important and what is not, the different details, which tends to also lead to writing better essays, because you have recognized things that other people didn't recognize because you took your time.
I was thinking, since you want to reward the people who actually read, I was thinking maybe you could do it like extra credit. So like if you got a question wrong, you got no score, that won't bring the grade down. But if you get the question right, you got points, and that will bring the grade up.
So like the standardized test y'all just took? Yeah. If we can find a mode of assessment where I can rightly judge who read and who did not, which actually seems very simple, right? Where I can rightly judge who read and who did not, where it is an appropriate amount of work intensiveness for all of you and for the grading team. If y'all can think of something and y'all agree on it, like vote, figure out, I'll do it. That's the challenge. I'll do it. Because as you could tell, our kids are really, really aware of and alert of how they're being assessed. Like it's not just something that's happening to them, it's something that they are actually contributing in. And so I was impressed that they were thinking so much about the efficacy of what we're doing. And so I want to encourage that. And so I need them to feel like it's okay for them to talk to me. And as you can tell, they actually came to I was actually teaching, because they actually came to some realizations during the conversation. They're like, wait a minute, I know how this works. Wait a minute, I understand. So I was actually very, very happy with how that worked out.
We can tell you what thriving at SLA means, right? We can tell you what graduating from SLA means. Graduating from SLA means that you are ready to tackle problems. It just means that you are a powerful critical thinker. It means that you have the ability to stand in front of a room or walk up to a person and speak your mind and your ideas and back it up with evidence and a powerful argument. It means that you can create across multiple media. It means you can do all. It means you're ready for whatever is next. That colleges are hungry for the kind of kids who are more well-rounded than the score on a test.
And they challenge the system in healthy ways.